Amen. Put your hands together for our faith. Let us know warm welcome.
I
We give you all the glory, all the praise, and all the honor and adoration. In Jesus' name we worship.
Amen.
Please be seated if you can in the presence of God. I just did not want her to stop. I was enjoying that so much, already getting lost in the glory. I did not want her to stop. My God, people can sing. Come on, put your hands together and bless God for this young woman loaded with such voice, and just not voice, but and just bring God's presence down. We thank God for her. We thank God for her. Are you happy to be in church this afternoon? I'm happy to be in church. Look at your neighbor and tell him, I'm happy to be in church. Say it like you mean it.
I'm happy to be in church.
Just on the inside of you, Lord. doing something. God is massaging hearts. God is strengthening hearts. God is taking things out of people's bodies. Even right now, God is moving in people's situations. Softly He's going into situations. He's sorting things out. He's working things out. He's fixing things. He's changing things. If I were you, I would tell God, come into my home, come into my family right now. Just come in, do what you want to do. Do what you want, do what you want to do. Come on, you got to open up for Him to operate on you. If you close up, you can't be operated on. If you get into surgery, you got to open up. You got to release yourself for the surgeon. For the surgeons to work on you. Come on, tell Him, come into my home. Come, Lord God. Come into my family. Come into my situation. Come in, you got to come in, Lord. You're watching online, you got to tell Him, come into my family. Come into my job. Come into my business. Don't stay out. Don't stay out. Come on, come in, Lord. Come in. You do what you want to do, God. You do what you want to do, God. You do what you want to do. You do what you want to do, God. You will come in, Lord. You fix what you want to fix, oh God. In the name of Jesus. We got to be very sensitive to moments. Some moments are not for everybody. Although the people those moments are for know how to sense when the moment is there and just take what is there in that moment. There is a sweet presence of God in this house this afternoon. It is sweet, it is soft, it is gentle. And all I keep hearing in my spirit, God just keeps showing me that when people go into surgery, there is always a sense of quiet. There is always this calmness that is just there. The Spirit of God just comes in and He said, I'm taking things out of people. I'm removing things from people. I'm removing things around people. I'm taking it out. It's not a violent, it's a soft thing. I'm just taking it out. I just pull it out. Just take it out. I just feel like a surgeon, you know. His hands, his face is covered. His hands are ready, and he said, give me that scissors. Give me that knife. Gently, they just pass it to him. And he just cut things open and take things out. And fix things and show things back. And fix things in people. It's just when you don't even realize you're unconscious. That is why you can't even understand what's happening around you. Because He's fixing things in you, around you. Oh God. Well, bless you, God. In the name of Jesus we worship. Amen. Amen. Okay. Let's go into the service. Last week Sunday we were dealing with, if you're watching online, you're welcome to the Household of Mercy. I'm Dabo Davies, fortunate to be the pastor of this great house. We are all people, men, mortals that serve a great God. Amen. We have our sister, the prophetess of God, Lenny's worshiping with us today for the first time. Watching, supporting, encouraging, strengthening us, and today decide to be with us this Sunday morning. We don't take it for granted. We have families that don't usually worship, but here with us to worship as God. And my God, that beautiful rendition by us. I can't get over it. We've gained one, and wherever you were, they've lost one. That's all I can say. You know, as a child I love. When children you love, begin to do things that you love, your heart just goes out for them. You love them more. You just love them more. You just love them more. How beautiful it is. Amen. We're in the season of kings, and last week we were talking about kings, God making kings of us, God bringing kings out, God structuring kings. This Sunday afternoon, I'll continue the teaching on that. I'm taking my time to teach it because it's something that we need to listen to. It's not just for church people, for business people, professionals, politicians. This word is very relevant to you because the Bible said he has made us kings and priests. Amen. He has made us kings. And one of the things when I was studying, God was saying to me that whether you like it or not, of all your children, there is one king. We don't choose that. We're not the ones that choose that. Of all your friends, there is one king. In chessboard, there's only one king. And you know what? There are many pawns. Those jokers around your life, there are too many. The pawns are the players. They are more than all the chess players on the board. Jokers are always too many. That is why when you go to a luxury apartment, the cheapest rooms are too many. The higher you go, the fewer you get. Then the penthouse, most times is only one in a 150 apartment building. The kings are always very few. Amen. So this afternoon we want to continue with kings. We looked at 1 Samuel 16 last week. We looked at 1 Samuel 16. We looked at 1 Samuel 9. We looked at 1 Samuel 10. And we will continue in that vein. I beg you to pay close attention. Don't allow your neighbor fall asleep. Or if they fall asleep, just tell them Jesus is Lord. They won't understand it. When they wake up, the first thing they'll say is Amen. Hallelujah. Don't disgrace them. Just tell them Jesus is Lord. They'll say yes, he is. From their sleep, they will respond. Amen. Okay. We talked of Saul last week, and one of the things I mentioned was most of what we know of Saul was the fact that he got disgraced, disobeyed God, and was dethroned. But few of us know that the fact that Saul was divinely selected and was secretly anointed and then was released. In 1 Samuel 10, the Bible said when Saul met Samuel, you can stay on strings, Matthew. When Saul met Samuel, and then Samuel told him to send his servants away and brought him closer to a secret place and anointed him king. So whenever God wants to put that oil on you, he always sends people away. Now, sending people away most times works in the form that they ignore you. Not that you walked away, but most times they ignore you. People begin to walk out of your life. You are there complaining. You don't even know why. People that used to be there with you all of a sudden betray you. They feel like you're insignificant. They feel like you're worth nothing. You were there crying, but God is smiling. Because they push you far away from themselves, not realizing that they've been divinely orchestrated by God to leave you alone in that season of your life. Because he wants to pour oil on you. There are people in this season who have been praying, seeking God, who have been waiting on God. You don't even know what's happening around you. You feel all alone. This is not that all alone of being abandoned in your mind. But it's that one where you just feel like too many people around you, but you don't feel them. Yet you're praying and connected to God. God is selecting his people. And I said it on Friday, it will shock a lot of people in 2019 that most of the strongest voices you will hear, not just in church, but globally, politics, business. Most of the strongest voices you will hear are people that you don't even believe will be. Because God is drawing his people closer to himself, to pour oil on them. My God. I just feel something very strong in this house. I believe that there are kings in this house.
Amen. Amen.
And I'm just giving a highlight of last week. One of the things we mentioned last week again was when Saul was anointed king in secret, he was not appointed yet, but he was anointed. So he had the oil on him, but he's not started ruling. Some of you have oil on your head, and you're still begging. You have oil on your head, but you're still seeking for help. You have the oil of millionaires, billionaires on your head. Literally, wealth, the oil of wealth on your head, but you're still struggling to pay your bills. It pains me because how can we bring the fact that I've been anointed to be a wealth magnet this side, and then you anoint me to be a wealth magnet, then you bring me to my reality where I'm still begging. I'm still struggling to feed. That is why the Bible said that we don't walk by what we see. We walk by faith. For the things that are seen are temporal, but the things that are not seen, they are there. But they are not seen. You know why? Because when Saul was anointed king, he was already anointed king. He could see it. But the people around him, when he went back to his reality, could not see it. But he was already king. But Samuel told him, he said, when you go, shut up your mouth. Don't tell anybody. But you know us? You know us, you and I? You know me? You know me? You know me, Ivy? Do you know I was anointed king? Have you heard? Do you know that they poured oil on my head? Do you know me? We begin to go around and begin to shout Victoria. Have you heard the news? They poured oil on my head. I'm the next king. We begin to shout before the time. And then we sabotage what God is doing in our lives because of our big mouth. So Samuel told Saul, he said, when you go, shut up your mouth. Do not tell anybody this until I come, until the appointed time. When Saul was on his way back in 1 Samuel 10, the Bible said he met his uncles, family. Come on, we should tell family, shouldn't we? I should be able to tell family. But the Bible said he told Samuel, he told his uncle everything Samuel said, but did not mention anything about the kingdom, about the oil on his head. How comes the uncle could not notice that the man has already been anointed king? Because the things that are seen are temporal, but the things that are not seen are eternal. So you're walking with oil. Look, if the people who despise you right now, if they can see the oil on your head, about Shakabaya. But you see that the thing is, God doesn't want it to work that way, because the oil on your head attracts all sorts of people. Once people begin to sense the oil on your head, even the jokers begin to come around you. So God hides you in secret place. Pours oil on your head, but make you look like a joker. Pours oil on your head, but make you look like the least on the chain. Pours oil on your head, but make you look like the one that is least deserving of the position. Make you look like the worst in the group. Make you look like the worst on the bunch. You come on the line, you're the joker of all. Nobody looking at you would identify, would understand. Even if you are doubting the oil on your head because you don't look like it. The ideas God has given you. You know why we downplay the ideas God gives us most of the time? Because we are trying to judge the ideas based on our outlook. And we say, if this idea is great, it should have turned into something now. Oh, come on, you gotta wait. It's not time yet. Tell your neighbor, it's not time yet.
It's not time yet.
Because we believe that immediately God gives us something great, we should begin to enjoy it right now. Right now. Come on, it should begin to bring money right now. The idea should bring money. Come on, the church now should be 1,000. Come on, we've been here. Come on, for a couple of years. Come on, is it wrong for us to ask for us to have our own property? Is it wrong? Is it wrong for us to be here? Is it wrong? Is there anything wrong with it? And God said, you gotta wait. Well, today God's here to talk to us about the making of a king, the contradictions of the selection process. The contradictions of the selection process, because if I want to marry or make a king, I know where to go find a king. I won't come to Edmonton or Tottenham. I will, in my own mental sense, at least move around the palace. At least little George and the king. Not you and I. But God's ways are different. The Bible said his ways are past finding out. If you turn with me to Matthew chapter 20, from 20 to 23, you will read the story of some of the people that followed Jesus and how their mother thought she understands how God make people king. I will read quickly because of time. Matthew 20 to 23. Then the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus with her sons. She knelt respectfully to ask a favor, which means she worshipped. So what is your request? Jesus asked. She replied, in your kingdom, please, let my two sons sit in places of honor next to you. One on your right hand and the other on your left. But Jesus answered by saying to them, you don't know what you're asking. Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering I am about to drink? Oh yes, they replied. We are able. Jesus told them, you will indeed drink from the bitter cup, but I have no right. See, even Jesus said, I have no right to say who sit on my right or my left. That job is left for someone else. if people were to determine who will be king in every situation in our lives, my God. So Jesus said that job is left for someone else. He said, my Father has prepared. I like the word prepared. He's not saying he's preparing. He said he's prepared. So the selection has already been done. He said, my Father has prepared those places for the ones he has chosen. Oh God. All right, let me go on with the things I've written. Just I want us to pay attention as I read. It is my understanding that God has within himself set the requirements of a king. He understands what constitutes the criteria for choosing a king, because we have learned through the Bible that it is not about the outward nor performance. It is also beyond man's understanding. So it is not how loud you shout, or how boisterous you look, or how beautifully attired you are. It is by God's selection. But the Lord said to Samuel in 1 Samuel 16 verse 7, don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. My God. The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. We got to be very careful, because a lot of the time the people that we think are very relevant and significant in our generation are not. They are just sound. Because God doesn't judge by the outward. God doesn't judge by how small you look or how large you look. John Darby, in a synopsis of 1 Samuel 16, describes that God did not set David at once in the height of power as he did in the case of Saul. David, as we read in 1 Samuel, must make his way by grace and faith through all kinds of difficulties. This therefore prompts me to remind you, especially the people who know they are anointed, that because you were anointed does not mean you will automatically assume the place of power. And David, although filled with the Holy Spirit, he must act in the presence of a power devoid of the Spirit, which is Saul. and which God has not yet set aside. He must be a subject and be humble. He must feel his entire dependence on God, that God is sufficient in all circumstances. And his faith must be developed by trial, not by good things. You don't like trial, do you? We don't like trial. We don't like challenges. We don't like problems. But it says his faith must be developed by trial. For God is indeed the maker of all this. It behooves me therefore to acknowledge and salute all the people who, like David, is presently serving those they are anointed to lead. There are a lot of people serving those they are anointed to lead. There are a lot of people walking under bosses that they are anointed to lead. A lot of people walking with people who they are anointed to be ahead of. It is painful, don't get me wrong, because it is very easy for us to read it. But it is painful when you're the first man in the second position. It is frustrating because that is when you're actually tested. That is when your humility is tested. Your ability to control yourself is tested. Your service is tested. Not when you're on top there. When you're up there, it is easy because you call the shot. But when you're down there, then God has ordained you to be up there. How do you handle yourself? How do you manage that position? How do you look at someone who you know God has set you over and then say hello to them and then bring water for them to wash their hands? And then you bow before them and say, long live the king. A man that God has put you over. You know that the Spirit of God has left that man because you've been anointed king. There can't be two kings in Israel at the same time. You've already been anointed king. But yet you can bow before someone and say, long live the king. Here is your cup of water. My God. How do you do that? You see, that is why many people cannot be king. Because every time God put them in the position of service, pride comes in. They say, come on. Me now. Come on. With everybody, me. Come on, you know me. Everybody, come on now. You know where I come from. You know my family. You know where we come on. You check now. You, me, come on, go serve. Come on, boy. You serve. That is why many people leave what God is destined for them, because a lot of times, though God is destined for you to be on top, he has to humble you for you to serve your way up. Someone said the only thing that starts from up down is the grave. So that is why many people's destiny are dead, people's future seem dead because they are trying to start from up. My God, David, we read about him all the time. Tell your neighbor, be humble.
Be humble.
Be humble.
Be humble. Be humble. I know you're great. I'm not doubting the fact that there's oil on your head. But be humble. The story of David is interesting, but something that bothers me is the fact that the Bible did not clearly highlight where David had all this training of protocol, etiquette, and diplomacy. Because David all of a sudden was on the backside in one moment. He was serving the king, playing strings for the king to be delivered. How did he learn how to comport himself before royalty? From where did he get the training of diplomacy, of the courtyard, of the palace? Who taught him all that? His father is no king. Who taught David all that? I'm chosen. From where did David master the art of being proper? From where did he understand the art of handling the pressure and challenges of the palace? He said, but God, listen carefully, God has a system in place to train you called the backside. The place where nobody likes. We all like the limelight. Put the light on me. Shine the light on me. I'm the man for the hour. I'm the man for the time. Give me the front seat. Put me on the stage. Give me the biggest mic. Robe me, dress me, put me, let me lead. Let everyone see that I'm in position. Because there is oil on my head. We like that place. But God has a system in place that is called suffering. That place of neglect, rejection, and humiliation. You see, the other day we're praying and God said, tell the people, do not pray against the spirit of rejection. Do not pray against it, because the time you're praying about the spirit of rejection, you're praying yourself away from what God has destined you for. Whether you like it or not, if God has destined you to be king, you will be sold, you will be betrayed, they will lie against you, they will push you on the backside, they will talk about you, they will laugh in front of you and then slander your name behind you. They will call you Jesus, Jesus, and then they will betray you afterwards. If God has destined you to be king, not everybody will like you. Stop trying to be in the good books of everybody. Stop trying to make everybody happy. You cannot. Listen, I will say it again with a capital C-A-N-N-O-T. You cannot please everybody if you are king. Stop trying to make everybody happy. God has a system in place when you have been despised and not able to fit into the group. When you cried, complained, and prayed against it, but God was making a king of you. You wondered why you were constantly picked on, planned against, and sometimes persecuted. You keep wondering, asking questions, why me, Lord? Why not you? Because there is a kingly DNA in you. If we trace your suffering, we will not trace it back to poverty. We will trace your suffering back to a kingly DNA. If we trace why your life is the way it is, we will trace it and find a kingly DNA in you. That is why you come with the greatest of ideas, but people don't appreciate them. Ideas that will transform nations, that will turn banks around, that will change some industries. Ideas that will transform cities. But when you present it, they just like, what is this again? Please put it aside. We've seen a lot of this. They just count it as worthless. And whenever they do that, they're trying to break your resolve. And some of us fall for it. Let me run quickly because I wouldn't even have the time to go through all of this. God was making a king of you. You wondered why you were always given the odd jobs. God was making a king of you. You wondered why you seemed trapped in a foreign land and could make no significant progress. God was making a king of you. You wondered and still wondering why your political position, this is someone, was snatched from you by the party leaders, given to another person who seemed undeserving. You complain and cry that God was making a king of you. Robert Jameson in his commentary explained, and I quote, "Providence thus prepared David for his destiny by placing him in a way to become acquainted with the manners of the court, the business of government, and the general state of the kingdom." Some of you have the opportunity of being around leadership right now. You are counting it as a privilege to be around leadership. No. God is getting you familiar with where He wants you to be. You were in a place where you don't know why most times you were exposed to certain wealth. Oh, I was exposed to certain wealth this past weekend. You were exposed to some huge amount of wealth. Be around wealthy people. People who don't think before they spend. People, when they get the amount, they just say, "Is that all?" All right. Jimmy, give him the check. They don't sweat. Not you and I that check our bank account and say, "Wait before we process it." Madam, wait. Let me check the account first online. Now with internet banking is worse. We say, "Just wait." How much it is? £52. Wait, let me just check. Make sure. Then we begin to transfer from 5 accounts into, oh Lord have mercy. From 5 accounts, we bring it into one place, one pot, to pay the blood of Jesus. We go to restaurants, we look at the price before the meal. You're hungry, and you're like, from this side, that's not where you're eating. Check your phone. Then you check 52 pounds, 42 pounds, oh, 6 pounds. They got me down and said, crab shell. Say, madam, just bring this. Crab shell. They say, won't you eat with this fries? He said, nah, I'm allergic to fries. Because you know the fries will come with some sauce with other things, and if you don't accuse them, forget it. See, when God brings you to expose you to, most of you know, if you look back in your life, there was a period where God exposed you to sudden wealth. You did not own it, but God exposed you. He brought you around people with so much. You thought that was your breakthrough. And God was laughing because, you know, son, what God is doing is God is stretching your capacity to handle. Hallelujah. He's stretching your capacity to see that there is nothing to this.
Yes.
Then he brings you back to your reality and you begin to walk your way to it. So David, look, I'll close with that. So David was brought from the backside. He was anointed king. And then he was brought to the palace of Saul to play for Saul to be delivered of demons. But I'm already anointed king. But he's playing for Saul to be delivered of demons. I will play for him to die so I can move him quickly. Lord, oh God. But I want us to bow our heads and I want you to look at your life. If you can play it as well with my soul on that string, I can hear it in the spirit. I want you to look at your life. God has stretched you in the past. Some of you, God is stretching you now. Most of you ministers have felt some amount of glory. And now it looks like there is nothing. You've seen yourself in the spirit doing great things for God. Some of you is not literal. Some of you is in the visions of the night. Some of you is in your dreams. You've seen yourself walk on air. You've seen yourself raise the dead. You've seen yourself buy estates. You've seen yourself feed millions of people. You've seen yourself run nations. But when you come back to your reality, you're asking questions. You know what God said to tell you? God said, I was stretching your capacity to handle. I was stretching your ability to accommodate. Now you've come to your reality. Don't think that it was a dream and it's gone. It is something I've destined you for. I gave you exposure to it. I gave you the preview. I gave you the highlights. Now I'm bringing you back to run, watch the movie from the beginning and walk yourself to that point. When you get there, you won't be surprised anymore. You won't be shocked. You won't be amazed because you will know I've been here before. That is what the world calls deja vu. It is no deja vu. It is God who's opened your eyes before. Now you see yourself walking in what you've walked in before. God is bringing people to the place that He's destined them for. This is the making of a king. The selection process is unusual. The way God prepared you is unusual. The preparation process is unusual. But God is making a king of you. It is well, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. Now there are people in this house or perhaps watching online who is saying, God, all I need is strength. I can understand this. If you're that person, if you come forward, I'll pray for you. You say, all I need, God, is strength. I know that is about me. I've given up sometimes. Sometimes I've failed. Sometimes I've thrown the towel. I've walked away from it. I've said I'm not going forward with it anymore. I've given up. I've got upset by it. I know the oil is on my head, but I just get upset. I just don't want this anymore. I don't know. There is so much on the inside of me, but look, God, forget it. I don't want it anymore. For that person, I want to pray for you. I want to hold your hand and pray for you this Sunday afternoon, and pray strength and pray grace upon your life. It is well. Lead my soul. Father, we thank you, God, for there are people online who say, pray for me. Father, for all these ones, Lord, even the ones of mine, I pray for grace, I pray for strength. The ability, the grace, the weight to be able to stay in that place, God. I pray, God, that you'll strengthen your hearts and your hands. Lord, that your heart will not fail. That you uphold them with your own right and of righteousness. I pray this day that you'll grace them to stay the process. Lord, even like Joseph, they will not walk out of that place, but they will stay when they are betrayed, when they are sold, when they are accused. They will stay the process until they assume that position that you've set for them. In Jesus' name we have prayed. It is wrong. In Jesus' name, we have prayed. I just want to encourage you to not give up, but be strengthened. It is very easy. We can laugh about it. Victoria is ministering behind. Oh Lord. Amen. All right, I've been blessed. I don't know about you, but I've been blessed. We thank God. We thank God. I feel very emotional because there are a lot of people who are in so much pain, begging God to take it away. Just like Paul, he said, I prayed 3 times. But he said, my grace is sufficient for you. I don't know, he has the power to take it away. But he knew that that was the part of the process to become everything he's destined him for. He would not take it away because it is the making of a king. Now, king doesn't necessarily mean that he must wear a crown and stay in the palace. No, king is about captain of industry. It's about being a leader, being in that strategic place in your life, being in the position of making decisions. That is why in your life, not everybody can make decisions. Around you, there are just a few people who have the ability to make very strategic decisions in your life. Very few, most times one. Most times one. A king, a power to make decisions. Being a leader. Oh, bless God. For those watching online, thanks for watching with us. Thanks for being in the service. We'll let it go. Now we can continue with our service. If you want to give to the service, you can drop a message. Someone will get in touch. You can give into the service. But we will end the service now online. Now we can do our in-house stuff. We have Joseph's birthday to celebrate, to pray for. And then later we can go and do other things which I just don't want to tempt the people online. Leave that alone. Amen. Amen. It's been ended so I can save this for. Finish. I can save it.